Hi, everyone, and welcome to Good Marketing with Stephanie. I'm your host, Stephanie Pryor, founder and CEO of Lank Marketing. If you're enjoying our podcast, please subscribe on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts and share with your colleagues to help us amplify our reach and all the great content that we're putting out there. It's May 2025, and I hope you're ready because today we're going to #talk tariffs. I know a lot of marketers are hanging on by a thread right now, but we need to acknowledge a tough reality. And don't worry, we are going to talk optimism too. But in times of economic uncertainty, it's common for companies to slash their marketing spend and headcount. An executive at Goldman Sachs actually just reiterated this while he was speaking about how marketing spend and headcount would be first on the chopping block in a recession before spending on AI. However, Nielsen has found that when companies slash marketing during an economic downturn, they risk their long-term growth at a rate of 2% per quarter. Additionally, it can take 3 to 5 years to rebound after going offline during a downturn. So today, my guest and I are going to talk about how marketing and communications investments are changing right now in such a volatile period for the US economy from the perspective of two business owners, one who owns a communications agency and one who owns a metal fabrication business, and reasons and strategies for you to hold on to hope and optimism in the months to come, and maybe not immediately black out all of your marketing and communications efforts. So in all the talk we hear about tariffs, manufacturing has been at the center of conversations about why they're happening. Manufacturing's dead in the US. We need to bring manufacturing back. So when I decided I wanted to do an episode on tariff policy and what it means for marketing and communications, bringing a manufacturer on board to talk shop made perfect sense. So today on Good Marketing with Stephanie, we have a very special guest. Emmy Ross is the Director of Business Development and Marketing at Astro Metal Craft. Astro Metal Craft was founded in 1987 in Minnesota as a metal fabricator of custom industrial equipment. Since then, they have expanded their scope to manufacture metal products such as industrial equipment, OEMs, and architectural metals. Their special niche is welding and perforating, and they specialize in stainless steel, aluminum, and weathering steel. I was lucky enough to meet Emmy at the Industrial Marketing Summit in Austin, Texas earlier this year before we really knew the extent of the tariff policy. And I'm excited to have her here today to discuss her thoughts on this from a marketing perspective, what she's doing at Astro Metal Craft, her experience weathering difficult economic conditions in the past, and how we can move forward despite an uncertain forecast for economic growth in the US. Welcome, Emmy.
Thank you, Stephanie. Glad to be here.
We're very happy to have you. So I would love to start, Emmy, with just some background on you. What's your story? What do you do at Astro Metal Craft? And what should our audience know about your business?
Sure. So Astro Metal Craft, we are a custom metal fabricator. We have two divisions within our company. One is the industrial side, where we make custom industrial equipment for things like the food industry, agriculture, bulk processing, all things like that. And then the other side of our business is the architectural business, where we do a lot of decorative metals for buildings, both interior and exterior. We do railings, fencing. If it's made out of metal, we can make it pretty. My role at Astro is the Director of Business Development and Marketing. I have dual degrees from the University of Wisconsin-Madison in entrepreneurial management and marketing. I actually came from the event planning and floral world, where I held a couple businesses. And then in 2023, I decided that having 4 kids and doing 200 weddings a year is just not really sustainable. So I joined my husband's company, Astro, which we purchased completely from his parents. It's a family-run business in 2020. So we've been learning a lot of things along the way, but it's been a great time and looking forward to the future.
Amazing. Thank you, Emmy. So with the topic that we're going to be discussing today, first, I would love to just set the tone for our listeners. Give us a brief overview of what these tariffs could mean for your business and what you guys are doing to prepare and or respond.
Sure. Yeah, tariffs has been a big thought on our minds lately, as you can imagine. The biggest thing for us right now is the metal market and how the tariffs between, in particular, Canada, where we get a lot of our aluminum, that has been a lot of conversations in our architectural division, because a lot of the products that we make on the architectural side are made out of aluminum. So just kind of seeing where it's going with the Canadian relations, and finding more suppliers here domestically. We do actually use quite a few domestic suppliers. So that has been good, but the planning for these architectural projects has been a little bit difficult because with not knowing when we have tariffs and then they're getting taken back and putting back on, our architectural timelines are so long that, we have projects that we have already taken POs for that aren't due until early 2026. And so navigating with our customers, what can we be buying now? What kind of inventory can we sit on in our facility and what space that takes up? What can we be doing to help our customers navigate forward and do it most cost effectively? That's been kind of the biggest challenge that we've been facing. And in regards to marketing, we really want to tell our customers and tell our future customers that we're your partner. We don't just make metal things. We know we take your vision, especially on the architectural side, take your vision of what you want this beautiful building to be and work collaboratively so that we can make it within budget, we can make it look beautiful, and we can make it together. So that's kind of been our process as far as handling the tariffs and navigating with our customers.
Great. So, you have a plan here for whatever could come from these tariffs. And I think it's good to throw things back to 5 years ago during COVID. It was a joke where every commercial or piece of communications you saw said, in this unprecedented time, right? It was very unprecedented time. And now the joke is that, these times are very precedented, right? Like we're very used to going through economic uncertainty. So I'm curious, in the past, what did it look like for Astro Metal Craft? And I know you came on full-time in 2023, but you do have history with the business. So what did it look like at your business during COVID or during the start of the Russian-Ukraine war, when market conditions were kind of scary and people weren't really sure how to move forward, leading into this current period of economic uncertainty that we're facing?
Sure. Yeah. So when COVID hit, we had actually just completely bought the business. So that was a little shock of like, okay, now what do we do? But as a manufacturer, we were an essential business. So a lot of the operations, at least within the shop, were, operating as normal. Just, what projects do we need to be working on? How can we get them in the shop? How can we do it safely? So that was an interesting time because we were mostly focusing on survival. We weren't thinking about growth. We were not focusing really at all on marketing and mostly just thinking about, okay, what are we going to do to make sure that we can get these products out the door? As far as the Russian-Ukraine war, it's a little bit similar to what we're facing now with the tariff situation and just kind of taking a look at the supply chain and where things are coming from and how that affects us that way. In that immediate year, we did not see as much of a downturn because of that. But then 2023, when I came on full time, was actually our worst year ever. And so that, I think, has to go back to what we're talking about here today of, we were just focusing on surviving and not growth. And there was not the efforts made on the marketing side to ensure that not only can we get the work done today, but we're also going to have work tomorrow. And the amount of legwork that goes into that is substantial. And we definitely have learned that lesson and are focusing on continuing to grow now.
So I love what you just said, and you made an amazing point, which is that you're focusing on surviving, right? When these, periods of this economic discomfort and uncertainty happen, right? And I think that's a very common thing. I think it's a natural reaction when you don't know what's going to happen 3 months from now, 6 months from now, to just focus on today, what you can do today. And like you said, to make sure you're getting your orders out, that you have what you need to survive today. Also, to your point, it's a little bit short-sighted to not focus on marketing at all and not think about the fact that these periods are temporary. They always end and there's always an upswing. So, on that note, why do you think that marketing, even now in the current tariff policy uncertainty, why do you think marketing is still the first thing being discussed to be cut? Even though we've seen time and time again, and the numbers from Nielsen prove it, right? That when you cut marketing, you're kind of hurting yourself in the long term. So why do you think that businesses are still doing the same song and dance with the marketing cuts?
Honestly, I think it has a lot to do with lack of understanding of what marketing is and how it works sometimes, especially at the top. To give my husband, for example, in the 15 years that I've been working at Astro part-time, it was a lot of like, let's just try some things and throw it at the wall. And he wasn't really a believer in marketing earlier on, and just was focusing on how do we make the shop run and get the stuff out. Since then, he's taken quite a turn and has realized the importance of marketing. And I think just trying to communicate to that information up to the leadership level so that they understand, this is important. This is actually what is going to drive the business forward. Like, who knows about you and what do they know about you? You can't have a business if you don't have those two things. And so making that a priority, within our company, I have a spot on the leadership team as the sales and marketing leader, to really enforce that and say, hey, I know you guys are worried about supply chain and, worrying about work hours and things like that. But if I can't get good product out to our customers and tell them about it and tell our future people about it, we won't have a company in next year. So I think really taking the time to educate the whole company and making it a buy-in within the company. So it's not, not only at the leadership level, but for us as well, taking time and going out to the shop and talking to the guys and taking content to them. And a lot of times they don't love when we take content to them, but they comply with us, and we kind of tell them the reason why. And, hey, we're taking this video because we want to show off, the excellent welding that you do and all the skill that goes into that. So really communicating company-wide that marketing is an important effort.
Yeah, that's a great point too, from the employee standpoint, right? Like engaging the people that work for you. And that's something that we talk about a lot at length with our clients. During a period like this, it's very complicated for people on the leadership level, right, to figure out, hey, what's going to happen next? But it's important to keep in mind how your employees may be feeling about that as well. And so that transparency and engagement with your employees also during, a kind of anxious time can be really helpful too. So I love to hear that you guys are doing that kind of content on the shop floor with the people working there. And I think that speaks volumes as well to the strides that you've made in marketing over the last couple of years and communications and, being able to weather the storm in that way too, where your employees still feel, seen and
Right.
heard and valued.
And it's actually been very important to us as well, because with the changing markets, we are no longer an OEM shop anymore, really. And so it's important for us to communicate that to our employees who are working on the actual projects, and they're saying, well, why am I not just making the same part 50,000 times? And it's like, because we can't compete in that anymore. That's when they talk about manufacturing is dead. That's kind of what they're talking about, that OEM process where, someone in China can make a metal part for, a 50th of the cost. And so for us, communicating that we are taking on more project-based work that has more technical difficulty. We are using our skilled labor, and we have to justify that to our customers and say, hey, we might be higher in price on certain things, but this is the level of excellence that you're going to get at each level of the process. And we want to communicate to our customers and also to our employees that, that's really important.
Yes, absolutely. And I feel like that could be a whole episode on its own, just how the manufacturing industry is shifting in that way. It's very, very interesting. But, from the marketing standpoint, I'm curious because at Astro Metal Craft, you guys have seen the light, right? You're all believers in marketing now. But what are you hearing from other business owners in your circle right now?
Yeah. Well, this year we've been investing a lot into doing more trade shows and doing a lot more meet and greets and things like that with our potential customers, and just going to some of the shows that we've never been to and talking to other vendors and getting a sense of what they think the shows are like. They're definitely saying that attendance is lower and it's not kind of the same quality leads because everybody's doing everything virtually. And so we're trying to take that in stride this year, like really hitting the shows hard, seeing what ones work for us, and then really setting up our process to follow up with those people afterwards so that, we're making a face-to-face connection at the show. Okay, then we're going to go contact this person, put them in our email database. We're going to do another face-to-face connection by having a lunch and learn or doing a meet and greet, and really trying to actually step out of the virtual side to differentiate from everybody else and really hone in on being face-to-face, doing that effort up front.
I think it's important at this point in the conversation to highlight the 95-5 rule, because you mentioned that you are like hitting shows really hard, right? And you're making connections, but then you're also implementing the process on the back end to engage those new connections that you've made, right? Which is critical, right? That's the end-to-end sort of buyer journey in marketing. But the 95-5 rule basically states that at any given time, 95% of your potential market is not in market for whatever you are selling, right? Maybe 5% are, but roughly 95% are not. So you can't really put a price on the connections that you're making through these marketing efforts that you're doing, right? Now, I know digital marketers will disagree with me because that's what the cost per customer acquisition is, right? But or cost per lead acquisition. But what I mean is just that these connections really are invaluable. And you don't necessarily know when those connections are going to materialize into business either. So that's why if you just scale back completely on all marketing efforts and you're not getting in front of people and you're not connecting with people, you're missing out on all those sales down the road, which is the point that you were making earlier, right? That it's a little bit short-sighted to only focus on the pain right now and surviving right now and not what's going to happen tomorrow, right? When this has all lifted and things are starting to look good again. So I think it's a very interesting point that you make and very relevant to what we see as well, with the fact that these connections are really, especially in a time of uncertainty, something that can help your business, grow and continue to be successful, even though times are tough.
Yeah. And especially for us as a small business, our marketing team is myself and then my one other marketing specialist. And so for us, to make those connections and really be part of the story and understand the story as, especially as being part business owner, I guess. One thing that I'm hearing from our customers when we go out and we talk to people or we do lunch and learns and things like that is that they really appreciate that us as the manufacturer are the ones that are going out to talk to them because we have the knowledge, we know what's going on, where a lot of times I think they get a lot of just reps coming in and, the reps are like, okay, I'm here. I want to tell you my thing. Here's what I'm selling. Get in, get out. And I'm sorry to overgeneralize reps. I don't want to offend anybody, but I think it's nice to have that personal connection with us because we are so in the business and we understand and we're personally tied to it. And so I think that level of connection is important as well.
Yep, absolutely. So, Emmy, I'm curious right now, despite all the volatility and sort of I know I've said uncertainty like 50 times, but the uncertainty, right? It's really hard for any of us to say a couple months down the line where things are going to land. But what right now is making you optimistic about the road ahead for your business and for everybody who's kind of just trying to keep their head above water right now and stay positive about where things are heading?
Yeah, I mean, for us right now, we are setting up to have a really good year. And so as you go through the ebbs and flows of business, it's nice to be in a flow, but then also be able to reflect back on those ebbs. For example, 2023 was not a great year for us. And to look back and say, okay, that was a tough year, but hey, look where we are today and look where we're going. What are we doing to not get in that same situation? And, hard times are going to come again, but making sure that we're prepared and having that future mindset of, what are we doing to grow and not survive is really important. And I think that's something that is making us really optimistic for the future. And again, having the entire leadership team and the company on board with what we're doing and understanding that makes us really optimistic as well.
I love to hear that. And I'm curious if you've ever heard and I know this is going to sound very hippy dippy, but of like a scarcity mindset versus an abundance mindset.
Yep,
Because
for sure.
that's what I'm getting from you right now is that, yeah, like things are a little bit scary in some ways, but you're focused on growth, right? Not just, all right, I got to just make it to the next day, to the next day, to the next day. And you're seeing the result of that, you know?
Yeah. Yep, for sure. And it's not only on the business side, but also just like trying to take care of our employees and reassuring them that, you know, we're working as hard as we can to ensure that you're going to have jobs and you're going to have great paying jobs. And, you know, this is a culture that you want to be at. You know, that's really important for us. And like our number one core value is trust, build trust. So we're trying to build trust with our employees that, you know, whatever is going on, we're going to take care of you. And then also building trust with our customers and future customers that, you know, we're here to make metal perform. And so we can do that for you. You can trust us. We're doing what we can to make the process as smooth as possible for you.
Yep. Love that. Love the living your values is excellent. And, you know, I want to point out that we are realistic, right? We know that should things go south, that companies do sometimes have to make hard decisions. They do have to cut their budgets. But I just think my takeaway from this conversation, Emmy, and I would love to hear your main takeaways and your final thoughts on this as well. But just really take time to sit down with the leadership and think about what you're getting from your marketing investments, where, yeah, maybe you could trim some budget, get some dollars back, but without sacrificing that core piece, which is making and maintaining those connections with your potential buyers, the customers that you already have, and your employees, right? These are all stakeholders in the organization. They're all experiencing this time and I don't want to say uncertainty again, but we're all experiencing it just like you are. So it's important to really prioritize that and making sure that you're not, you know, cutting off your nose to spite your face in this situation. So, you know, that's really my main thought from this, even though, you know, we do understand that when things get tough, you know, cuts happen, but maybe just try not to cut off the things that really are going to help your business grow in the long term. And, you know, Emmy, I would love to hear your final thoughts on this topic. And if there's anything else that you think that people should know as they're making these kind of decisions in the months to come.
Yeah, I think it, again, goes back to the building of trust. And, you know, for marketers, it's, you know, what makes your company reliable and know that they're going to give you the right product or service that your customers are looking for. And I think in these uncertain times, having that sense of certainty that you will be there for them is really important. I think that overreaching, you know, building that trust between all parties involved.
Yes, absolutely. So, Emmy, please tell our audience where they can find you and Astro Metal Craft online.
Absolutely. So our website, astrometalcraft.com. We also, all of our architectural division is on stellarcraft.com. That's our architectural product line. You can find us on all social media platforms, just at Astro Metal Craft or at Stellarcraft. We also do some blog posting. We call it Shop Talk. So you can find us on YouTube there. Hope you give us a follow.
Yes, absolutely. Highly recommend that you all go and do that for sure. And thank you so much again to our wonderful guest, Emmy Ross, for this insightful interview on a topic that really matters right now to marketers. And hopefully we've shared something here that maybe somebody needed to hear, or that maybe will inspire a leader somewhere to not immediately cut their marketing costs. But either way, you know, difficult times, they're always temporary. Things always get better. And, you know, we want our business to get better with those times, right? So that means not, you know, kind of hobbling ourselves by getting rid of the things that could really help us grow. So please be sure to subscribe to our podcast again on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and follow Lank Marketing on LinkedIn, Instagram, and TikTok for more content from our team. Thank you so much again, Emmy, for being with us today.
Thanks so much, Stephanie. Appreciate it.